Let's sit down and listen to records. Smell the cover, read all the verses. Tell me about your favorites on vinyl and vision.
Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to the latest episode of Vinyl and Vision. Today's very special episode is our 100th episode. I just have to say that I am very pleased with myself to say that I've made it. I've made it to 100. When I started this podcast back in September of 2018, I think, that was my goal, actually. I set out with a goal in mind of, like, if I can make it to 100, that's pretty great. And so here I am. Today's very special guest is Justin Pearson. Most of you probably know Justin Pearson as a member of Struggle, Swing Kids, Retox, Def Club, The Locust, Dead Cross, and the founder of 31G Records. So this was a pretty great get for me. I feel like, much like in the conversation that Justin and I had that you will be listening to shortly, everything led to this point. And what is to be determined in the future? Another existential question that Justin and I touch on in our conversation. I do not know. All I know is I'm going to take a break. I'm going to kind of maybe settle back for a little bit, take some time, reflect, maybe redesign some things. There's a lot of things that can happen. But if you are tuning in for the first time, thank you for joining me. And there are many other conversations, 99 other conversations that I've had on this show, some of which were some great guests that maybe you might know as well. Eric Paul from Erebon Radar and Psychic Graveyard, Peter Prescott of Mini Beast and Mission of Burma, Roger Miller of Mission of Burma and Trinary System. Who else? Weasel Walter from Flying Lutenbachers. Steve Mattos, actually one of my great friends, guitarist of Erebon Radar as well, and Doomsday Student, and currently a new band called There. So all those conversations are there too if you care to partake in those. I would really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate Justin for joining me for this very special episode, and I hope that you enjoy it too. And all that we ask here at Vinyl and Vision, and have asked for the past 99 episodes, is that you do all the things you do with the internet. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, rate, review, all of those things. All of them help, and we do really do appreciate it. By the way, what you've been listening to is the first song off of Def Club, one of Justin's bands. Has a new EP out called Bad Songs Forever. The first song is If You Eat a Rat, It Might Taste Good. And at the end of the episode, I play a short clip of another song off of that same EP called Ride with Cops, Shoot with Robbers. Again, folks, thank you very much, and enjoy.
So how are you doing, man?
I've been on tour with 3 different bands in the last week, and then I leave tomorrow on tour with Def Club, one of the bands again. So I'm a little exhausted, to say the least. Yeah.
Right. Well, I know. I mean, it's no surprise. I mean, I think you're notoriously known to be kind of a workaholic and be extremely busy with multiple projects. I didn't realize the extent of it.
Yeah, it's not that. It's like, I think people assume it's busier for me, and it's usually not really that busy. But there was like booking issues where some stuff got some dates were wrong, and I was like, whoa, man, I'm playing New York, Boston, and then LA with 3 different bands in a row, and I'm like, this is just fucked. But it worked, and I'm home, and then I have a day off, and then I go on tour again. So yeah, it was just not ideal, but it's good.
I was just going to ask you a question, actually. Like, one of the first things I was thinking about was this, like, do you still get any kind of like stage jitters, like, before performing?
Yeah, it's weird. Some people like think, are you nervous or whatever, but it's not nervous. It's like, I don't know. There's like this thing where I'm anxious waiting to get it to start. I hate like the wait to get it to start, but I'm not like nervous until I see like other people that I've collaborated with, or like I don't know, my mom or someone like in the audience where I'm like, fuck, I don't want this to be, stupid or whatever. So it's usually like that. If I don't know the people, then it doesn't really affect me at all.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the stranger in the place you are, the better.
Kind of, yeah, yeah. Which is funny because we're going to talk about Rob Wright, and he was at a Locust show, and that was insane for me to play. I was like really, really nervous. But
Yeah.
we did it, and I think he liked it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Did you get to talk with him at all?
yeah, a little bit. It was such a nice. He was there for a very bad reason, but it was nice to talk to him, and I think I hope that we provided something beneficial to him. Yeah, at that point. So, well, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Was this a while ago?
Yeah, it was the last. I think it was the very last time that the Locust toured Europe, like a proper European tour. We did like an ATP show there. I think as the last time we ever played in Europe, but like before that, when we were just touring, it was in Holland. It was our last show, and he showed up randomly because they had to cancel some dates or something, and he was waiting for a flight the next day and came to our show, and that was a pleasant surprise for me, and hopefully for him. It was yeah, I don't know. It was a cool thing for me for sure. I can only speak for myself, but it was cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, from what you're telling me, or from what I understand, I mean, he must be kind of an idol to you.
I mean, I don't know. The idol's a weird word because
Sure.
I think like even for me, like when I was 12, I met the Cramps, and it showed me that like there were no like it got rid of like the idea of like what people's perception of maybe an idol or a rock star or
Celebrity.
whatever you want to call it, celebrity. Yeah, I mean, because
Yeah.
I think that especially too, like now throughout my life, I've been able to like intermingle with people that are very popular or or that are celebrities, I guess. So but as far as like idols, I mean, I would say like I would rather just use words like an influence or I don't know, just someone that's got like like just has like very, very important energy or something. I don't know, because
Sure.
I would prefer someone not to call me that stuff if that was the case. So I an idol or a celebrity, because I'm just some fucking asshole. So I kind of like
Yeah.
try to keep it like that, I guess.
Yeah. I hear you. I know what you mean. I mean, it's kind of putting too much weight onto the persona of like musicians that, well, let's just say musicians for now because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But this is kind of what the whole thing is about, is talking to you or whoever it is that I'm speaking with about something that was influential to you, an album specifically that was influential to you. I mean, and you chose No Means No's Wrong specifically because you said it was kind of the reason that you got to play bass, or that you wanted to play bass.
Yeah, I think as a child, the only other band, and I probably should just like not say this, but I'll go ahead and say it. But I think the only other band that really stood out as far as like the bass guitar. Okay, let me just go back a little bit more, because when I was really young, I was obsessed with the Sex Pistols, and I liked them a lot, and I didn't really understand music. I just liked the attitude and like the overall like thing that they were doing. And discovering punk was very important. But I realized like even at an early age, so this is like maybe around 10 or 11 when I started diving into things, that like Sid Vicious wasn't a good bass player, and he was a sort of like a prop or a persona. I would like to say persona instead of a prop, because that sounds like kind of rude, because I think he was important in some sort of historical realm, but maybe not as a as a musician.
Right.
So I never really like put a lot of emphasis on bass necessarily until maybe I saw that movie Thrashin', and I saw Red Hot Chili Peppers in it, and I was like, oh, that's cool. That band really focuses on the bass guitar, obviously, and even like and I'm sure Flea's cool. I don't know him or anything, but like I did a little. I was very when I was a child. I was very I don't know, like I always wanted to like figure everything out. So this is before the internet, obviously. So I found out that he was in Fear, or tried out for Fear, and they kicked him out because he wouldn't play with a pick. And I was like, that's funny and cool, but I think I want to play with a pick because Sid played with a pick or whatever. You know, I mean, my perspective of musicians and music was a little odd at that point. But yeah, so when I did end up getting, I mean, I was obsessed with the Dead Kennedys too, and so I would get all those Alternative Tentacles catalogs and the records, and so I would just buy shit, you know, and I got No Means No wrong, and I remember just being like, just fucking floored by the bass, and I was like, what is going on with this this instrument in this band, because it's very much up front, or maybe not like up front past the guitar, but it's equal. So like before, you know, you think of like the Sex Pistols, even with Glenn Matlock on bass, it was always like kind of like in the back, you know, like he's following the you know, there's no sick bass line. I mean, he's in the pocket or whatever as a bassist, and it was just pretty it was good. He's a good bass player.
The bass
but he wasn't
the
like
guitar. It's guitar heavy rock.
So when I heard No Means No, I was just like, this is some shit. I don't know what's going on. This is so wild. And I just like fully got obsessed with No Means No because of the bass. And that did influence me a little bit with bass playing. Not so much in my first band that I played bass in, to some extent, but like I just followed the guitar lines, or if I wrote the bass riffs, it was like it was just one. It was very like one dimensional, and so that was that. But it did take full effect in the Locust for sure.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely hear that. I mean, I could definitely hear like some kind of influence, some kind of connection there. But it's really funny that like, because I watched your doc, Don't Fall in Love with Yourself. And so I feel like I know a lot about your kind of history and kind of how you grew up and stuff. But what really interests me from speaking with you now is just like how were you so tuned in to like the instruments at such a young age? You know, like 10, you're saying 10, like you kind of got into music, right? So, I mean, like, how did you know even what a bass was at that time?
I don't know. I mean, well, my mom had a cousin that let me borrow this awesome Gibson Les Paul guitar. And it was funny because that ended up being used in Struggle when we first started by Eric Allen because he needed a guitar. But like, I don't know why. I mean, I think, again, I mean, I was into all kinds of music. I really, really liked the Cramps. And I don't know why, because I remember with the Cramps was a good example, because I realized like sometimes, because I saw the Cramps when I was 12, and when I met them, I realized they had a bass player, and then, but before that, it was always two guitars. And so it was strange to me because, so I obviously love all the early incarnations of the Cramps. So I like Brian Gregory's guitar playing a lot. But when I saw them, they had Candy Del Mar on bass, and that was cool too, because I was like, whoa, she's rad. Like, you know, who is this woman? Like, and there's a bass guitar. So I started trying to like figure out the differences. I noticed it. Yeah, I guess because I was, you know, a little kid. It was like most people at that age, I think, are obsessed with certain things, and that was what I was obsessed with. So going and seeing the Cramps at age 12, expecting to see Brian Gregory and not, and then seeing this other person that was like just as cool and different on bass, and you know, that was a thing that I kind of just thought about a lot, I suppose.
Okay. Well, so like your curiosity, you were a curious kid about music specifically. It was kind of an obsession for you at a young age, and that's but not like a musical, like not a music theory. Like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I don't know notes. I don't know how to read music. I still don't. You know, I just was like, it was just more like I don't know how to explain it. Like it wasn't from a musical standpoint. It was more from like the cultural
I don't even know
kind of aspect of it, like what punk was, like the aggression that you kind of saw or heard through the music, something like that.
Yeah, but it's not even that. It was just a detail, like, because I'm like, you know, I'm sure I have OCD, and like I kind of looked at the band and was like, it's different. Not that it was like, what's the bass? I need to figure out like the musical you know, place of a bass guitar in the perspective of a song. Or I just was like, oh, it's different because there's another person, and that was it. You know, it was like the
Okay.
These like weird little details. Again, like not that it was like, oh, cool, bass guitar opposed to like guitar, in the 4 to 6 strings, or it was none of that shit. It was like Brian Gregory's cool. Okay, he's gone. There's this awesome woman playing bass. Let me just understand that. And it wasn't from like a musical theory perspective. It was like just from like this cool, maybe like artistic, I guess cultural, but more artistic perspective. Like, oh, there's a different person that's got like rad swag, and they just happen to have that swag on bass,
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that was kind of that.
Yeah. Well, so like, what's the first piece of music that you bought for yourself?
I think it's I always forget the name of it. I could look it up, but it was like purple or pink covered Stevie Wonder record. It was like a triple LP, and I have no idea why I bought it, but I remember buying it at this place called Gemco. Well, my mom did. And that was like a pretty cool thing. And then I was always into music. I got suckered into liking Kiss at an early age. And then I realized they sucked. And then
Right.
and then I just figured out like cool shit, because I also remember hearing Styx, Mr. Roboto as a little kid, and going like that's cool because it's like got robot shit in it.
Mm-hmm.
So and then it was early on, like discovering Devo and specifically, I think a big launching point for me was the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which had Sig Sig Sputnik in it and Yellow, and that kind of got me into like a lot of weirdo new wave electronic music.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And that was the push. So it was like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, that movie, and then skateboarding got me into the Thrasher skate rock comps. And
Okay.
through Thrasher skate rock comps, it was like discovering bands like Septic Death and DI and The Accused. Specifically The Accused was something fucking seriously crazy for me. So yeah, skateboarding was the thing that got me into all that.
Yeah, kind of a gateway. Yeah, you get that a lot with skateboarders. Wait, but so were you self-guided in all of your exploration in music, or was there anyone that was like kind of feeding you anything or kind of guiding you in any sort?
No one really. I I think my yeah, people were feeding me. I mean, the world was, and I think looking back, like I'm really really grateful that my mom was supportive of me being into weird shit. I mean, she was pretty hard on me the way I looked. She didn't want me to look like fucked up, and that kind of came with the whole thing for me being into punk.
Right.
But she was like really supportive of me. She had her cousin let me borrow the guitar, and that was really awesome for me to just kind of have an instrument. I didn't know what I was doing, and at one point I asked her if she could help me take lessons, and she paid for me to take bass lessons, and I think I took 2 lessons, and the second time the guy was kind of a dick to me, and he was telling me that I can't play with a bass, and like real bass players don't play with a bass, and it was weird for me because I looked up to all of these bands, and I noticed there were these great bass players that were playing with picks, and I was like, well, I like all these bands, and these people I think are really good bass players, and they are playing with picks. So you as a teacher are an asshole, and I'm gonna not take your class, or take lessons from you. And so my mom was fine with that because it was expensive. And then I think soon after that just started playing in a band, and kind of just learning as it went along. And I was always grateful to play with other players that knew what they were doing. So I think it helped me learn.
Yeah.
But as far as like the stuff getting fed, it's really not like I don't have any siblings, and my parents, I think my parents like maybe liked music, but they didn't, they definitely didn't like what I was into.
Right.
But my mom was very supportive of me as a person that played music or tried to play music.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's funny just because that just seems so strange to me. I mean, I have brothers and stuff like that, and I don't think they were a great influence on me, to be completely honest. But so I find it really interesting that you were a single child, an only child, but you had this affinity for it, and you found it, and you sought it out, and especially to get into more obscure music. You know, it's just like
Mhm.
how quickly do you think the progression was from like the first time you kind of like got into something and like maybe say that Stevie Wonder record to getting into, you know, more punk and, you know, obscure weird electronic music and so forth.
I think maybe it was like a cultural thing because it was for me it was like this the timing of everything because I was kind of into like okay 1984 when 1984 came out by Van Halen I was very much into that band and into that record specifically Hot for
Mm,
Teacher. I thought the video was wild and I really loved the intro double kick stuff was great and I
right.
was just like man music is cool and David Lee Roth was like a kind of a cool personality and I was like
Yeah.
he just seems fucking wild, you know, like something that a kid would like. So I was really into 1984, and then soon after that, breakdancing took over, and I got into rap and hip hop, specifically like Tommy Boy records and a lot of stuff they were putting out, and I liked the. And I don't mean any disrespect to a lot of those bands, but it wasn't to me. It didn't seem musical in the sense there's like guitar riffs and like hooks. It was like this weird vocal you know bar like these bars of vocals and like sometimes occasionally like a lot of like and especially early like stuff on Tommy Boy it was like lasers you know pew, pew, or like whatever and like
Right.
synthesized kick and snare and our sampled you know beats and stuff and I think all of that was really attractive to me because it seemed almost like science fiction sounds and it didn't necessarily seem like uh traditional it wasn't traditional music I guess you know it was on the cutting edge of this sort of evolution this cultural
Right.
and musical
Yeah.
evolution so I was just really into that and like through breakdancing the whole thing seemed fucking wild it was like also like I grew up in Arizona and it was like really racist I thought white people were fucked you know and so I latched on to this art form that was created by people of color and I thought it was just so informative and so inspiring and I just really wanted to be about that and so it's really like the hip-hop element and then also at the time got into metal and stuff like that Slayer and a lot of metal through thrash and punk from the skate rock stuff um
Hmm.
and then yeah it was just like I was just sucking it all in you know whatever
Right.
was cool and whatever my parents didn't really like I thought was like the jam so yeah
Yeah. I'm sure they came across a lot they didn't like that you were bringing in.
they I mean my mom like was kind of just like don't look like an asshole and I wanted to look like an asshole and she was like really concerned with the way I looked my dad was more of like just this fucking dick who was like telling me, and I had no idea what he was talking about, but he was like, "You like the Sex Pistols? You're gonna become a junkie and a heroin addict." And I'm like, I don't even know what drugs are. Like, I just think this guy looks fucking cool, and I
Right.
like their attitudes and shit. And so, since my dad didn't like it, I was like, I'm gonna get into that, you know, like because my dad was kind of a dick and would abuse my mom, and he was just he was a bad parent and an alcoholic that was abusive to my mom, and not to me physically, but I was like, cool, my dad doesn't like this. I'm fully gonna get into it. Cause he was pretty like shitty and like destroyed some of my cassettes, I think my Misfits and the Cramps. And I was like, man, I need all that. That's like those are my favorite things right now
Right.
as a you know 10-year-old or whatever. Like I want those things. So
Right. That sucks.
it made me get into it more. No, it was great because it made me like really get into it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, you know, when you tell a kid no, they want to do it more.
Of
And I was like,
course.
oh, I'm gonna do this more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I,
yeah.
I, I have kids actually, so yeah, I'm dealing with it now. I am that guy. I'm just like, oh man, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's
At
funny
least you
though.
have that perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I mean, I think, yeah, yeah.
I always
Go
ask
ahead.
them. I'm just like, tell me what you want. Tell me what you like, man, because I want to give
Yeah,
it to you. I'm not
yeah,
that dude. I'm not my dad.
yeah, yeah,
My dad was an
yeah,
asshole too. So I'm just like,
yeah,
please tell me what you want so I can take you to that
yeah.
show or I can take you to that thing. Like, please. You know, it's so much,
Yeah.
yeah, very different generation for
But
us, you know.
maybe you need to secretly be like, don't do it, and then they're gonna, and then they'll do it. You
I guess
know.
I should, yeah. I should just
Yeah.
Jedi mind trick these kids. Be
Yeah.
like, your art sucks, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the next thing you know, they'll be the next Basquiat or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. I would love that. That would be great. So
Yeah.
all right, No Means No, a Canadian band. This album Wrong specifically
Yep.
came out in 1989. So you how did you get your hands on it?
So 89 I was 14 and I think I I either mailed it from Alternative Tentacles, or I got to be really good friends with these people at this record store in San Diego called Off the Record, and would just go in there, weekly, and just bother them and hang out and ask them questions and want to look at everything. And I think the fact that it was released or affiliated with Alternative Tentacles got my attention right away. But it's weird because the copy I have is pre Alternative Tentacles. So I don't know. I don't understand how I figured it out. I have it right here actually.
Yeah.
So it's Cargo, which is a San Diego based thing.
Okay.
I think Cargo, it was a big deal in San Diego with Cargo Records. I knew about that as a kid. And then it's on Wrong Records, which I'm assuming like sort of self-released, but it's Cargo 7. I don't know how I figured it out, but I will definitely say that there was some kind of Alternative Tentacles Jello Biafra connection to that band. And that's how I found it. And then looking at the cover and like photos of them where they're wearing masks and shit, and like have like the one of them's wearing a priest outfit. I was like, that's cool. Like it's so weird to me.
Yeah.
The aesthetic. I mean, the cover artwork is just it spoke to me in every way possible. And I think that's important. The artwork is very important to me. But it spoke to me. The aesthetic of the band. It sounded great, obviously, but then I figured out that they looked fucking weird, and they probably were totally weird, and that was definitely why I was, I was gravitating towards that. I needed to like figure it out.
Yeah.
So I bought the record, and I bought it because this is before you could check anything out. Like I just had to like buy the record and hope that it was good or good enough. And I remember just putting it on, just being like, what is going on? This is so wild. The instrumentation's so weird. And even like, I mean, again, I don't think I really understood music necessarily, or like songwriting, but in retrospect, I'm like, wow, it's weird. And then there's like these catchy hooks. So it has the whole like spectrum of stuff for me, at my 14-year-old self to like really, I don't know, want to soak it up. It did everything for me. Yeah. At that time.
And you weren't playing bass at that point.
I don't think I was. I think it was when I was 14. I was like, hey mom, I need you to help me somehow obtain a bass guitar. Can I please get you to buy this cheap piece of shit one, and I'll just pay, I'll work my ass off and figure out a way to get to pay you back. And she knew some of my friends at the time, who were in my first band, the singer of Struggle, Dylan Scharf, and the drummer, Jose Palafox. And so I kind of was like, I want to start a band with them. And she was like, okay, she didn't know, like, you need to play bass, or like, she didn't know what I was. Just like, I need this one kind of guitar. I don't care what brand or whatever. I just need I just wanted to look, not, just get a black one. Like, I don't want a dumb looking one. And that was it. I didn't know anything. It was a Washburn. I mean, those are fine basses, but I mean, fuck, I wish I could have had something else. But it took me a minute to get a cooler bass, or one that I appreciated more.
Sure.
So she bought it for me, and then we started the band. But again, it didn't. The band kind of didn't have any resemblance of my musical influence pertaining to No Means No, but at the same time, and not to discredit No Means No, but I was into like all kinds of shit. I really love Septic Death, and I mean, my taste of music was all over the place.
Yeah, it's pretty vast from what you're telling me, just from these few years of your childhood. Yeah, it's pretty way more vast than I fucking knew at that time in my life. I didn't know shit. I just knew what was on the radio, or MTV. Yeah,
I guess so. Yeah, I guess I somehow figured out these like little wormholes to go down. So yeah, when I started playing music, it really wasn't like, let me play like No Means No. It was kind of just because we were kind of like, the band was kind of like metal, like chugga chugga hardcore, So it was was a different vibe, but those influencers were there. I mean, there was some pretty, like the first Struggle show, I hope never services ever, for many reasons. I mean, for one, we played it in someone's garage that my dear friend Jerem set up. But there were like all these Nazis there and shit. You know, that was fucking stupid. But I thought, oh, I'm gonna wear a mask too, like No Means No does, you know, and I wear this dumbass mask. It made no fucking sense. And I also realized I can't really see shit with the mask on,
Right.
which is kind of funny in retrospect, because then I didn't end up doing it for like most of my time in the Locust. But
Right.
but as a 15-year-old, I didn't know how to play music, and so I really needed to see what the hell I was doing.
Sure.
So it's different. But so yeah, first show wore a mask. It was dumb. You know, for musicianship. But I was doing like kind of funkier shit, and I was playing with my fingers, you know, and like because I was like, oh, I guess I have to play with my fingers. So in my first band, I played with my fingers, which was just bizarre for me. And then
And
it took
do you
me
do both? Do you do picks too sometimes or no?
only picks. I don't play with my fingers anymore. Yeah,
Oh,
as soon as Struggle broke up, I took a little bit of a break. I sang in a band called Swing Kids, and then started the Locust. And then in Locust, it was right away I played with the pick, because again, too, like shifting the aesthetic. When I started playing the Locust, we wanted to sound like this band Crossed Out, and it was right away like blast beats and playing fast. So I knew I needed to pick fast. I couldn't do that with because even recording too with Struggle, I remember like recording and not having the same sort of attack that a pick would have had.
Sure.
So I'm playing these like there's the last Struggle recording we did, which is like on an LP. There's a break where you can hear the bass line happening. And I should have played with the pick, but I didn't, you know, and I wish I did. Like you have to learn, I guess, that you suck and then get better. So I was like, oh man, I should have played it with the pick. It would have sounded way more sicker.
Oh yeah, it's all a learning curve thing. I mean, you were so young. I mean, you struggle. You were 15, right?
15 and 16, yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. That's insanely young to be doing that stuff, to be recording and touring.
But I meet people that are that age that play music, or even then, like I remember hearing about, like, I think Sammy from Youth of Today was 15 when he was in Youth of Today, and like I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of examples like that,
right?
You know, throughout time.
I mean, I was 15 when I started playing bass too, and we did do shows, but we didn't tour, and recording was very, very minimal, you know. But yeah, it's all a learning curve, you know. It's like you just kind of figure out what you're even doing. I mean, it's just like I had no idea what was going on. I was just like, you know, my brother would taught me how to play just by showing me like where to put my fingers on the neck, you know, and just like learning covers.
I still have.
You still do
but
that?
I still have no idea what's going on. No, I still have no idea what's going on most of the time.
Yeah, me neither. It's all ear. It's all ear. Just whatever sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just in life, but but musically too. So.
Oh, yeah. Trust me. Hey, I'm no scholar. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So let's see. So we should just go ahead and get into this record. I mean, I don't want to like take up too much time. I know you got a lot of shit going on. So what I'll do is I'm going to go down the list, and I'll ask you a question per song, and I'm going to skip a few. Okay. And some of the questions I have,
we have time. We can do all of them.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I don't have too many, because this album was really hard, because there's like nothing about this band out there, you know, especially like there's a very limited amount of stuff. You know, I was doing a lot of research and I couldn't find anything specifically about this record, or at least nothing about like the making of it or the recording of it, you know. So it was kind of hard. I had to kind of like figure out a lot about this, and so I did end up skipping a bunch of songs. But it is a
you
great
probably
album,
know more than you might know more than I do about it. I mean, I kind of know a little bit about stuff, and then I'm good. You know, I wish I knew more. Anyhow, yeah. So
well, I know they have a book coming out. Like, I actually, in the research, I saw that there's this booking. I was just like, well, it's a little too late for me. I wish I had that book now, and that would be cool.
Yeah.
I'd end up having a lot more information about it.
Yeah, someone had hit me up about that book. I don't know like what the conversation was, but they reached out to me. That's like maybe the author that's working on it. So I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Well, at some point I'll look into it. But for now, let's see. Let's start off with the first song. It's Catching Up.
That's my, I think my favorite one. That's this track that the Even Dead Cross, I think, covered it in 2017 on tour. That song's great. It's just a great opener. The whole album's great, but yeah, that's probably my favorite one. You know?
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I didn't know this record when you suggested it, so I was listening to it the first time as a 43-year-old, and I was just like, this record's fucking crazy.
Yeah, which is pretty wild because not a lot of artists get to stand time, you know, or like still stay. Yeah, you know, whatever.
Relevant.
It doesn't seem.
Right.
It doesn't seem dated.
No,
necessarily. Yeah, but I mean, even like It's Catching Up was crazy too. I remember like putting it on the record player and kind of just standing there being like, "Fuck, this is crazy," and like not like walking away or not sitting down, just kind of like letting it play, just standing there, like just looking at it, you know, spinning and absorbing something. So that's kind of like a good. Yeah. That's only happened to me. I can think of 3 records off the top of my head that where I just didn't leave the record player. I just stood and listened to the entire thing. So yeah.
Huh. Do you want to share those with me?
Yeah. So Wrong is No Means No Wrong is definitely one. The first Drive Like Jehu record is definitely one of them, and the first Antioquero record, which is it didn't have a name at the time, but it's called The Lady Is a Cat. Those are the 3 records that I 100% put on and stood there until it was over, and I was just like, this is some fucked up shit. And
then, like, even flipped it and was just stayed put.
Just kept, like, yeah. I mean, the Antioquero record's really short, but I remember doing the same thing with man, it's crazy. I can remember doing that same thing with all 3 records and kind of just like, okay, so with No Means No, like putting it on and hearing it and at the time when I would go to the next song, I would think like, whoa, shift in like vibe, like, wow, this is crazy. Because I was used to like, you know, of like, let's use the Cramps or Septic Death as an example. Like it seems like the same band like through the whole record. So when I put on No Means No, I was like, the vibe just shifted a lot, you know. So I remember thinking like, whoa.
Yeah, they had dynamics kind of like they knew how to like
totally
mix up the genre a little bit.
Yes, which can be good and bad because there are a few songs where I'm just like, you know, it like I'm not the biggest fan of like the funky shit that they do.
Sure.
I kind of like the more straightforward like driving No Means No stuff. Because there are a couple funky tracks on this album.
Right. Yeah, I heard that for sure. There's a couple I would skip too. But overall, I mean, I think it's an amazing album. I think it is timeless. I think that it and I think it's kind of the consensus amongst fans is that this is one of the like probably their best album.
One.
Yeah.
The one. I think anybody if anyone that's a fan of No Means No, if you were gonna say like what's the one I should start with, it's always Wrong, you know, and then you kind of go to the other stuff.
Sure.
But
yeah, I'll do that. I'm gonna get into the other stuff shortly. But so It's Catching Up. So lyrically, I found that this song is about zombies. Did you
I don't know.
That?
Maybe. I mean, more metaphorically speaking, it could be. I mean, I don't know. Like, because even if you think about it, like, it could be about humanity. I don't know.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's Rob Wright is the lyricist, right?
I think so.
Because John Wright's the drummer, right?
Yes.
So I think
I don't know if someone else. Yeah, but the guitar player sings sometimes too, doesn't he? I think they both sing. I don't know. Maybe so.
Okay. All right. Well, whoever it was, the lyrics are kind of intriguing because it's not they're necessarily straightforward. So it seems that there's a lot of like innuendo or some poeticism in there. Yeah. There's some interpretational things, which is it's brilliant. Really, it's really it can be really beautiful at times.
And especially like, I mean, when you're discovering a band and there's like metaphorical lyrics for you to kind of sit on, it's nice. And I like, I mean, and that's a huge influential thing that I think I adapted as well adopted in my life, in the stuff that I wrote, because I want you listen and think about it. And if you get it right, cool. And if you get it wrong, that's cool too, but it might not actually be wrong. Like maybe, I don't know how like they were writing their stuff, but for me, it's like when I would write, I'd be like, I'll just write this and you can get what you want out of it. And that's cool, because
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So
I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of what a creative writer teacher taught me back in high school. Was just like, that's the art of words. Is like when you put them together, it's just like you might have an intention of what you're saying, but if somebody else reads it, they could interpret it a different way, and that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's actually that kind of makes it more profound, right?
yeah. But like, not to cut you off, but like, I have the lyric sheet here too to like
Oh, okay,
refresh my brain. But
cool.
but like, when it says, the dead walk, which is the obvious thing you would think like about a zombie. To me, I never even thought the word zombie never came into my mind because I don't know. I guess I just looked at it like he's saying something about like current humanity of whenever this record came out. Like
Sure.
I don't know. I just looked at it differently, I suppose, because also this was probably before the zombie phenomenon. I mean, zombies obviously existed, but and I was a big fan of like zombie movies and shit. But I just looked at it more realistically, like I don't know. I just looked at it differently, I suppose. So I'm tripping
Okay.
out that you said zombies because I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I read that somewhere, and then I read the lyrics, and I was just like, yeah, I can see that. I can see where someone would kind of get that interpretation. But now, so
Totally, yeah, totally, yeah.
like you were saying that so you've been the singer of bands, so I imagine that you've been writing the lyrics to the majority of the music that you've been the singer for, right?
Yeah, yeah. If I'm this, I mean, the Locust was interesting because there were at different times different singers, but like the Locust has a 4-piece with Joey, Bobby, and Gabe. What it was lyrically speaking, it was split up amongst the three of us that sang. So like
Yeah.
We would
So
each
that would be more
approach us.
mixed.
Yeah, but like we would each approach a song like, this is, you write this one and you write that one and I'll write this one. And so like you write the lyrics and then they sing parts or backups or however you want to fucking call it, but like everyone sings on it. But
Right.
like the collaborative effort of writing lyrics with another person is bizarre and can be very tricky. I've done that and it's I'm not I love all the stuff that I've been able to do with my friends that I've collaborated lyrically with, but it is tricky. So
Yeah.
it's cool when it's like just your words and you just write it and you fit it on the thing and that's it,
Sure.
So yeah.
Right. Well, so based on some of the context from some of the bands that you've been in, you're no stranger to odd lyrical choices and context.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so like what inspires you? What inspires your lyric writing? Like what do you look to, or do you have an influence at all?
Fuck yeah, I have influences. I mean, by default, when I first started singing in this band, Swing Kids, I think I was the I consider myself the weak link of the band, like musically. I think I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have a very good voice. I didn't know how to write lyrics, and the things that I wrote, I thought were just kind of like almost like naively written. And a lot of people will say to me that band saved their lives and they love that band so much. And I really, really appreciate that. I completely cannot agree or understand, but I appreciate it. And I don't mean to be a dick and I don't want to sound like a dick. So it's hard for me to kind of be acceptive of complimenting that band lyrically.
Right. Sure.
But
Okay.
I remember like a huge influence was Moss Icon. The singer would kind of like, they'd have these big pieces of music and he would kind of like say the same phrase over and over and over. And I that was definitely a thing that I thought about. So like in Swing Kids, I would just write like 5 lines or 4, whatever, and just say it over and over and over. It was almost like I only knew how to write a chorus. I didn't know how to write a verse. I really think
Right.
that's my problem.
Yeah. Well, you were a kid, right? I mean, Swing Kids, couldn't have been over 19, right?
I was 19 when it started and 20 when it ended, or maybe
Yeah.
20. Well, I turned 21 when it ended. Yeah. So it was pretty short.
Yeah.
But
So
I
you're a
mean, I
kid.
should have, yeah, but I should have been able to like do better. I don't know.
I think you're being hard on yourself, but I mean, like, because seriously, like, I think about those times in my life, and I'm just like, I was such a fucking idiot. It's just like you can't help it. I mean, like, we're learning at that point, like, how to be adults, and without any good
Yeah.
guidance, and even still, like, what kind of fucking guidance can you really have to teach you like how to be a decent singer when you're not like a hardcore punk band?
Yeah. um I just wish I looked at things and I wish I challenged myself more
Right.
earlier on,
Okay.
like even now, I mean, even now when I record, I'll do like something. I work a lot with this one of my bandmates who's also a producer, Luke Henshaw, and he's very much from the world of hip hop, and so he throws in these strange, to me, strange like elements, like, hey, try this, and I'm like, what the fuck, and he's like, this is very much hip hop, like, try this, this is what MC would do, and so it's that's a cool challenge for me. So like, I just wish because I was into hip hop as a child, I just wish I knew better, like I wish I knew better to
Yeah.
with my stuff that I did earlier on.
Okay. I think you're being hard on yourself because I mean, like, how everyone like you have the foresight. You have this like this looking back in hindsight now. You have all this experience with you now of all of the shit that you've been able to do. And, of course you're gonna look back at that time and be like, I could have done it better. I mean, like we could all of us could have done something better when we were 20, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but I understand, like, you have to, like, I had to release, or had to be in struggle and Swing Kids to get to the Locust. I get, or, and the Locust had to be the Locust and to get to be the better Locust, I get all that stuff. But a lot of, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting to think about that because it's kind of like now where I feel like everyone, okay, like, yeah, maybe it was harder when I was 15 to actually put out a record. Now anyone can do whatever the fuck they want right away. They can record by themselves. They can record with no, you don't have to go to a studio, and they can put it up online for the whole planet to hear,
Right.
which is really, really cool. But also, I feel like maybe everyone just thinks their shit's rad, and there's like a ton of stuff up there, and I'm like, fuck, man, maybe try a little bit harder. But I'm not judging them. I'm let them do what they want.
Right. Yeah.
It's my opinion or whatever. But yeah,
I hear what you're saying.
like, kind of,
and
I mean,
agree.
like, well, even like the phenomenon of like SoundCloud rap, which I guess isn't like that a thing anymore. But like, remember when like that was happening? I kind of was like, wow, this is a trip. And a friend of mine, Brett Gerowitz, who runs Anti Records that released the Locust, he told me that he feels like it's like a modern day version of punk, and I was like, oh, that I see that very, very much. And then I felt like my parents, because I would look at it objectively and be like, man, it just seems lazy. Like, there's no real fucking riff, or there's like a janky, melody and like this kind of mediocre vocal.
Yeah.
But then I was like, fuck, that's what I would do. That's what I did as a kid, So it made sense. I guess it was just me being like an adult dick.
Yeah,
but
well, like I said, you have all this foresight, you have all this experience, like I think I would agree. I think I agree with you. Like also, if it's like kids, if it's like young kids or more young people that are doing that stuff, that are like, just randomly putting shit up on SoundCloud. I mean, what kind of resources do they have too? That's the other thing. Like, I know that I see my kids use a tablet to use GarageBand, and like they don't have a single instrument to use. I mean,
which is so crazy,
right?
Yeah,
but they can make a song,
yeah.
and that's like, it's not impressive to me because I'm just like, yeah, you just grab some loops, threw them in the fucking on the screen, and just kind of cut and paste them together, and that's it. It's a song. It's just like, yeah, that is totally lazy, and it's not really inspired in any way, but it's a way for them to kind of wet their whistle of like this, what is creativity, what is creation, how do I make something, and then like you build from there. You're like, oh well, if I use dad's instruments now, I can go use his amps, I can go use his keyboards, I can go use his guitars and shit, and I can just do it myself, and do something different. So
like our generation's launching point was way back there, so like this generation's launching point is like right here, so they're going to launch And then
Right.
by the time they get to be 19 or 20, maybe they'll just be like writing the most righteous shit ever, you know?
Could be. Yeah. Who
Um,
knows, man?
yeah. I mean,
Who
they
knows
are
how?
right now, if you think about it. There are
Yeah.
people that are very young, just doing like the most innovative, you know, I don't know, maybe I don't like it or whatever, but like it's definitely innovative. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool that it's happening for people younger.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
rad. Good.
I think
Yeah.
so.
The tools. Yep.
Right. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's move on to the next song, "The Tower."
Yeah, that's a good one too, because it's again like going from It's Catching Up to The Tower was that shift where I was like, oh damn, man, the vibe changed so drastically. Lyrically, I have no fucking idea what they were talking about.
Yeah,
But
me
like I
neither.
was really, yeah, but I was really into the song. I thought it was a great shift. Great first two tracks, which I think is important also when you're sequencing a record, is
Oh, yeah.
opening track, obviously, but opening and closing are always important. And for me, like, and the splits on vinyl is really important, like side A and side B. But like track two is so important. You want to get you get them, and then you have to keep them there. And
Right.
and that shift really, they nailed it. It kept me there. I remember just fucking standing there the whole time.
Right.
Yeah, that
That's
was good.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so "The
Shit.
Tower," like you said, I honestly I didn't really understand what they were saying lyrically, but
Yeah.
I did find out. You don't happen to be like a mystic at all, right? Do you dig tarot cards at all?
Um, I don't not dig them. I think that they're interesting, and I
Yeah.
appreciate them. I'll just say that.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah.
Because it happened to be that like the day I was listening to this, my wife likes tarots. You know, she does like her own readings at home and shit. And so she had done something with the Tower card. So
Wow. Okay.
I looked into the Tower, and actually the Tower is a symbol for the ambition that is constructed on faulty premises. The deconstruction of the Tower must happen in order to clear out the old ways and welcome something new. Because the depiction on the card, it's the tower's being struck by lightning, and fucking people are jumping for their lives from it, and
Yeah.
it's being
Yeah.
destroyed. So, you know, its revelations can come in a flash of truth or inspiration. Is also what is kind of describes that card.
Dude, it's all about their lyrics. That's so crazy.
Right. So I'm wondering if they actually got the inspiration from tarot, like from a tarot card for that song.
Wow. Yeah. Maybe they did. I
Yeah, yeah.
really would wonder. Yeah.
It's wild. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know anything about these dudes. That's the thing. It's just like I couldn't find
Yeah.
any information, but I was just like, okay, well,
Yeah.
based on what these lyrics are saying and what I've know this tarot card deck to mean, they actually do
Yeah.
sound kind of intertwined.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I hope that's where they got it from. That's really cool.
Yeah. Well, if I can ever talk to Rob Wright at some point, maybe I'll ask him. But
Yeah. Definitely.
but for you, can you think of a situation where you had a flash of truth or inspiration?
Oh, every day. Yeah, something like that happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of a wild thing to interpret, but a situation where you had a flash of truth or inspiration. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, like truth and inspiration can come to you in different ways, or you can harness it. Like a good example, I think maybe, well, let me try to think about this for a second. I'll just riff off the last couple days of my life. So
Sure.
I have this project called Satanic Planet. We played in Boston the other night at this thing called Satan Con, and Reggie Watts was there. And I really wasn't that familiar with Reggie Watts. Everyone's like, oh my God, he's here. That's crazy at the convention. So our drummer or someone asked if he would open for us. And he's a big deal, you know. And so he came and did a set, a short set before we played. And I was fully inspired by him. And I was like, oh my gosh, his set, you know, was 100%. It spoke to me, like from the start to the finish. It like had all of the dynamic that I am already like tuned into, and I was like, this guy's brilliant.
Right.
I fucking love this
It's all
shit.
improvised, right? All improvised, like
I mean, I think he had like, sure, I think he had some of it. I'm sure. I mean, it's like, you know, even like, because I think, you know, musically or comedically. I think he might have had like some of it already sorted out. I don't know. I didn't get to talk to him about it. But like even an example was like he did this. There was a break, and he did this like call and response, and he would like say a little phrase in the band, and then the audience would say it, and then he'd do it again, and then he would like kind of like, and then he just like went off for like 30 seconds on this fucking insane non-linear like thing, and the audience is like going, okay, how the fuck are we going to say this like as a call and response? And I was like, oh my god, that's brilliant, that's fucking brilliant. So there, truth, I don't know, inspiration, definitely, so there's that, and that came to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so good. Like I really am inspired by like what he did with his audience engagement, because I do struggle with trying to find like a cool means to engage with the audience. I prefer not to, for many reasons. I think because over the years the Locust was like, just like rudely abused by the audience, like heckling us, and I was like, fuck these people, I'm not gonna, we're not gonna allow them to talk, so we didn't let people talk. So now I struggle. But so anyhow, then last night Def Club played a show, and it was also the 1 year anniversary of Gabe Serbian passing. So I took it, we were opening, so Def Club was opening last night for we were support for this band Seisha, and I was kind of tripping out because they're like a 90s band, and there were all these really young people there. So I don't know how all that stuff happens. Good for them, for sure. But I was gonna say, the band and Def Club, everybody is Gabe's a big thing for all of us, entity in this, and so I was going to dedicate our set to them, to him, and say it, to the crowd. And so I said, on the break, one of the very few times I have dialogue with the audience, like, this set is going to go to Gabe Serbian. It's 1 year that he passed away, and the whole crowd was like applauding and cheering, and there was something, and I want to know, like, I would have loved to know, like, do you guys all know who Gabe is? Or are you just applauding that I'm speaking? Because I don't know if they know who he is, should, but I don't know.
Well,
but
it's nice to know that the audiences can at least be respectful.
Sure,
and not turn
it was
on
definitely
you.
it was definitely a respectful audience. So it was cool to harness that energy, because I think even for ourselves, like, just acknowledging it verbally, like, hey, we're doing this, it's for Gabe, he's with us on this stage, his energy is here, and it made it fucking intense times 1,000 for us. And I think it's reciprocated by the audience. There's this exchange of energy, so if they do or don't know about Gabe, even me speaking that, I think, and us acting like we did, and the people that do know about Gabe, maybe it just made everything kind of, it's like going back to getting your tarots read, it just made it gnarlier and like in a cool way, it made it like, it showed our love for Gabe and, his energy in this world. And I think that was cool. So it's, in a long, drawn out way, maybe I'm answering your question. I don't know.
No, that's fine, man. I mean, I hear you. And I did realize that it was the anniversary of his passing, because it was really, I never got to meet Gabe. But I obviously know people that knew him, and the night he passed away, we were actually in Providence, and I saw so many people that knew him. I was with like Steve and Eric Paul, like we were all at a show downtown, and we were all having a good time. And then it was just like the following morning, it was just like when that bomb hit, and let's just like all of a sudden there was all of these postings about Gabe and how he had passed, and I was just like, holy fuck. It's just like, and I could only feel so bad for everybody, because I just knew how all of them were feeling. And it was just like, it was so weird to go from this like intense gathering where we were all kind of hanging out and having a great time, to like the following day being like, oh, we've just lost like one of our own, and so I'm really sorry for your loss, and I'm sorry that happened.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I think it's it was fucking crazy to see how massive that guy is. And I knew it for myself, but like on this planet, it just reached everywhere right away. And I was just, I couldn't believe it. It was such an eye-opening, interesting thing. And I wish with all of my heart that he could have known that prior to him leaving. But maybe he does know it. I don't know. We're a pretty naive species of living creatures on this planet. So maybe maybe he knows.
Maybe he
I hope
has
so.
an understanding now of how much he was appreciated.
Yeah, I don't know. Humans are so weird. We just only use a portion of our brains, and we act like assholes on this planet, which is probably part of the reason why Gabe had to bail, because I fucking can totally understand being fed up with everything. So yeah.
No, I know, man. I hear you.
Yeah.
All right, look, let's keep on moving on. All right.
Cool. Yeah.
Brainless Wonder is next, but I wanted to skip it because I didn't have anything for it.
Yep. You know what's funny though, because I want you to skip it for sure, but I do think that song was weird because it really felt like even the lyrics are just so brief. It seemed almost like it seems like an interlude, and that was a artistically that thing stuck with me, because that definitely shows up a lot in like specifically like Locust stuff, or a lot of things that I've done or been part of. So yeah, let's move on. But like that song's an interesting track.
Right. It's like what some people might consider a throwaway track, but it's like actually in the composition of the sequencing of the record, it's like it has a kind of important part.
Totally. It's a bridge to the next piece, because now, like, I think with digital stuff, everything's so disjointed. I think for me, I want the album to go from start to finish as one massive thing, so
right.
I don't know. That's how I looked at it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, well, that's because you're a vinyl enthusiast, obviously.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah. Very different.
It's different. Yeah.
All right. So Tired of Waiting. So, this song, I mean, it seemed fairly straightforward. And I'm just curious, like, is this a similar sentiment to what you felt when you decided to go on your first tour with your first band when you were 15?
No, because this is one thing I'm learning now. I mean, I'm 47, so I learned this, like, that time happens faster. So back then, when you're 15, time went so much slower. But I never was like, I don't think I can relate to the lyrics for sure of this song. But I think I don't know. It's so weird. Opportunity was there. To do stuff, and I think maybe it's part like most people maybe at age 15 wouldn't want to do it or weren't allowed to do it. I mean, fuck, the second tour I went on I joined a band called Brain Tornado because me and the bass player of the band, I wasn't even the bass player of the band, I filled in for him because he was also 15 and his mom wouldn't let him go, but my mom would let me go, so I went on tour, so like I think it wasn't that I was tired of waiting or anything. I just was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Like the opportunity was like in my face, and it worked. Yeah. In retrospect, it's like, it seems insane that by the time I turned 16 and went on tour, I fucking had toured 3 countries. I toured the whole continent.
Jesus.
From Mexico to Canada. And that seems wild for someone at the age of 16 to do without a legal guardian. There was nobody that was over 18, and it just seems like a bad idea. So tired of waiting. No, I totally was not tired of waiting.
Right. You were just hungry for it, and it just kind of presented itself to you. You just took the opportunity.
It was just there. Yeah. Right. But I do like that song. It's a good song for sure.
It is good. It's a great one.
I can relate to it now. I feel like I definitely can relate to it now.
That might actually lead into the next song, Stock Taking. So, because this one I feel has a seemingly similar context as Tired of Waiting, but the lyrics here are sample lyrics. Quote, "Are you sick and tired of the same old thing, or are you happy enough? Tell me, when does so much become so little? When does too little become too much?"
Those are such an insane, existentialist kind of question that, and even like acknowledging existentialism. I got a book on it because at some point that was brought up to me, and I remember being, 15 years old in high school. I think, what was I in, like 10th grade or something, and doing a report on a book on existentialism. And I think my teacher was like, "You're insane." And I was like, I don't know, like I'm trying to figure this shit out. Life is really weird. So I like those questions. Yeah, that those definitely made. I remember like hearing that and thinking about that stuff. Like what are we grateful for as human beings? I still think about it. Like fuck, I'm taking all this shit for granted.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think about your workaholic habits. It's like,
But I don't want to call it workaholic. It's just like, well, I have the time. I mean, it's there. I can do it. I should do it. Not like because
right.
The term workaholic means like you're trying to make money, right? Like work is like money, or to me, like your career.
Yeah.
I just think like I want to create something. I just want to make something, and like I can either go to the studio and work on a new thing, or sit on my computer and write a book, or do whatever. Or I could just binge watch some fucking TV show on Netflix, and like that doesn't really. I mean, that's fine for whoever, or fine for me. But like, I'd rather just do something cooler, or go like. I guess I just look at like my time differently.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, that's kind of what I was getting at. Like, do you ever think in these terms? Either are you happy enough with what you've carved out for yourself, or do you feel like maybe you still don't have enough?
Yeah, I think about that every day for sure. Because I also too trip out because, man, it's weird. It's always like brought to me. So I think a lot of the downfall of humanity is due to capitalism, and it's strange to function in a capitalistic country or world or whatever you want to call it. And so I do think about that stuff. And so even like at an early age, I remember playing music and like having my uncle ask me like, assuming that I was like a big deal or whatever. I don't know what a big deal is, but he was like, why aren't you on MTV? And I'm like, look at the shit I'm doing, dude. Like, of course it's not on MTV. And then his, like, so, I use his like, sort of like, I don't know, like gauge of what is successful. Are you making money? You're in a band. Are you making money? Are you popular? Are you like getting girls? And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna explain this. Like, I'm in a band called the Locust. We wear uniforms. All three of those things are totally not happening. Because like people fucking hate our band or think we're garbage or don't understand it. So like the ones that do like it, but the ones that don't like it definitely don't like it, and that's cool. He didn't understand that. I was like, it's when you create something, if they do like it or don't like it, that's fine. When they're apathetic and indifferent, then you're failing. Right. So there's that. And there's like, the girls thing was like, come on, we're not Motley Crue or whatever, fucking, we're not Van Halen. And like, look at us, dude. And like, also like, that's not our goal. That's not our goal. So that's also like talking to just like, a generational thing, a generation older man from Arizona. Like, of course he's gonna fucking think that, and so there's that. And then there's the money thing, and it's like, how do I explain to him like, okay, this is at a time where like the Locust would go on tour and we would be offered like a full tour with the Yeah Yeahs or Phantomas or Dillinger Escape Plan, and we would say like, oh, we can't do these dates here, and here, like a third of the tour because they're Clear Channel shows, and we're boycotting Clear Channel because Clear Channel supports the U.S. war in Iraq, and they're ejecting artists from their venues for speaking out against war, and the Bush administration is using it for their advertisements. So fuck Clear Channel, no. And then, so I'm trying to explain to my uncle, like, we lost all this money because of this shit. Money's not our objective. And he's just like, what? Right. So that's the thing, that it's like weird for me to like figure out like the importance of what we're doing. And do you have too much or too little, or like the wealth, and I'll use like air quotes, like the wealth is from other things that we don't place on a monetary thing in a capitalistic world. The wealth is always
the triumph of actually making a great record and going on a successful, or not successful in the financial sense, but in you, for your own gratitude, right? It's gratifying to you to be able to go on tour with Def Club or Dead Cross and just enjoy being on tour, like whether no one came or not. It would be like, oh, I get to do this.
Yeah, so successful is a good word too, because like I'll come back from tour and be like, success, we didn't die. and like that's I mean, and that's like that's the very bottom of where
Right.
of your gratitude. It's like where do you go below that? Like you die, so like fuck, we
Right.
didn't die.
Yeah.
Did you lose money? I mean, did you have a lot of trouble? Did you get sick? I don't know. All these things could have happened, but did you meet people? Did you see rad things? Because a lot of people will be like, well, you get to travel the world. And
Right.
I fucking get to travel the world, and that's so rad. But there's always a but, right? Because
Yeah.
like I get to see the inside of venues everywhere for like hours and hours and hours, like doing sound check and not. So like I look at it like I am so grateful that I have 1 or maybe 2 hours a day between sound check and showtime to go experience like whatever the perimeter of that venue is, in that city, and that's cool because
Right.
most people
Right.
don't get to do that, and so they're
Yeah.
success
Being there at
is
all
definitely
seems
there.
right. Being there at all kind of
Yeah.
seems like an extravagance that not other people would kind of get. So even though
Yeah,
like
and
you're just
also like
looking at a green room for hours, I mean, yeah, I understand that that's not as glorious as it people think it is.
yeah, and it's also getting better now. You have GPS, it's like, oh, I can go do these things. Like I think about people that come to San Diego, like that just show up and play, a random dive bar and like don't know where the best food is, where the cool record stores are, or
Right.
like how to get to, like cool nature, like Sunset Cliffs, or to see the sea lions in La Jolla, or like I don't know, or like how I don't know if people can do that. Now they can,
Mm-hmm.
but in the back in the day they couldn't. And with me too, it's like I would get to the show and be like, all right, on foot, I'm gonna just go that way and like hope I don't get lost and hope I find something cool in my time, and
Right.
and set my standards low and be happy with like just finding like food or tea or whatever. um
Right.
but
I
now
hear
it's a
you.
lot easier. So yeah, I guess success is a strange word to use, but it is a very so yeah, going back to the song, like too little too much is a really good point, because I don't know. Anyhow, I definitely understand like being grateful and appreciative of the things that I have in my life. Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's great, man. Um, moving on to the next song. I was actually going to skip the end of all things
Mhm. You might as
again.
well skip Big Dick too, because that song's kind of dumb.
I was gonna say
uh,
what can I really say about a song called Big Dick? you
I
know,
mean, were you gonna skip that too?
I was. I mean, it only reminds me of
Yeah,
like
I want
one
to.
thing.
Well, I think I don't like the funkiness of that song. I was always like turned off by that, and I was like,
I figured you might. Yeah.
yeah, and also like I just didn't want to really hear about it. Like Big Dick, it just sounds weird, but I get it. I think it's like a jokey thing. I'm assuming I get what he's like.
Yeah, I
Like
think I think it's a tongue in cheek type of song. It's kind of like
yeah,
poking fun at toxic masculinity. It's not
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah. But
like hey, I got a big dick. It's not like that at all.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So and that's cool. I get it. And I thought about that, especially not to keep, because we should move on from the song, but that idea, like thinking about toxic masculinity was really without me even understanding that term, was really really important as from day one being in bands, because I was really opposed to playing music and punk and hardcore that seemed like a bunch of white males. Like I was like, fuck this shit. I want to appeal to other people. I want to appeal to people of color. I want to appeal to women. I want to appeal to the queer kids. I don't want it to be like that. So a song like Big Dick, the concept of it definitely resonated. Musically, it did not. So there's that.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree with that. So unfortunately, like going through the second half of the record, there wasn't very much else for me to go on. I was just like, Jesus Christ, what do I have to work with here? Like, there's nothing that I found out about any of these songs. Two Lips, Two Lungs, and One Tongue, I found out was covered by Alkaline Trio.
Yeah. Really? That's
Yeah.
impressive, I guess, that they picked up on that.
Do you like that band? Do you know them?
I know them. I don't. I mean, I don't want to say like I don't like them. Like I'm saying they're bad. It just
Not a fan of them.
and I'm sure they're great. Yeah, I mean, it just never like got into it.
Right.
I was too busy. I guess.
Right, right.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, what is like a cover that you know about that's always kind of like rubbed you wrong?
Oh, okay. Fuck, I'm gonna throw a friend of mine under the bus. One that rubbed me wrong would be Slayer covering Minor Threat. I think it's fucking super lame. And they changed the lyrics and
Wow.
made it racist, and Ian was pissed, rightfully so.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I love Dave and I love Slayer. Dave's my family. You know, he's my bandmate. I love him to death.
Right.
I do wonder about some of certain members of the bands, like
Beliefs.
political
Yeah.
yeah. I
Their
wonder why they
political
changed the lyrics
leanings.
to that. Yeah.
Huh.
Um,
Okay.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
didn't even know
Minor
about
Threat is
that.
Minor Threat. Yeah, Minor Threat's an interesting band because as a kid, I thought they were fucking skinheads, you know, and then I saw that song title, Guilty of Being White, and I was like, fuck, man, they are like a skinhead band, and they're completely 100% opposite, obviously. It took me a minute. So I could see why maybe Kerry King or Tom Araya, I don't know who was behind changing the lyrics for that, just couldn't pick up on the obviousness of Minor Threat, but they did what they did. So yeah, that rubs me the wrong way. With that being said, there's a lot of covers that rub me the wrong way, but there's also a lot of covers that rub me the right way. So yeah,
Sure.
it's the
Was there a song you can think of that you didn't know was a cover that you like?
probably
You probably don't know it's
but
a cover.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, or it took me a minute to like read the liner notes to figure it out.
Right.
A good example, I guess, would be the Cramps, because I was really obsessed with that band, and almost all their songs were covers, you know. And so it
Oh
was.
yeah.
I used to do a weird deep dive at the Tower Records that was by my house that had like I was so lucky that they have this like weird. I don't even know what section it was called. It was like import, or maybe it was called rockabilly. I don't know what it's called, but it just had all the bizarre shit that the Cramps were like covering or ripping off. So I could buy these records based off of the same titles of the songs, assuming that those are the original songwriters of like what I thought were Cramp songs. So like, yeah, that's it. That was it. Also too, 31G released a Cramps tribute record, and it was funny because I had to make a list of what was actually Cramp songs and not Cramp songs for the artist when I asked them to be on the record.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
some of them would pick tracks. I'm like, that's a cover. You can't cover a cover, you know, like,
Right.
so
Okay.
that did come up. Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, so like I said, not much else to say about any of these other songs. Rags and Bones. Oh
I
no,
like
Bruno.
Rags and Bones was great too, because it had such nice melody in it. It was a shift from like weird and obscure and abrasive, or whatever you want to call it. Rags and Bones has that chorus that was just very melodic and very catchy. So it was a nice because, you know, you're kind of like hit, and you're like, oh, this is fucked up and weird, and the whole thing, the record's going, you know, and then you kind of
Right.
when you get to Rags and Bones, there's this part where you're kind of like you're on fucking cruise control, like, yeah, this is rad, right on, this is cool, like,
Yeah.
I've been abused, you know, sonically, or like your brain has been like like taking all this information.
Right.
Rags and Bones were like, we got this, so that was cool.
Yeah. Like the second side does actually seem to have a little bit more of like a pop sensibility.
Totally. Yeah.
Right. Like, so like that's the thing about this band, is that they're like, that I noticed at least on this record, is that they have a pop sensibility. They have ability to kind of like create hooks and melodies. It's not all just like abrasive. It's not like kind of like really crazy noise rock. I mean, it is to a degree when you like, you know, listen to like the bass and the drums. It's just like, it's so just driving and like maniacal, but at the same time, like I guess it's probably the last song, All Lies, it has like that female kind of
so good.
that female harmony going on in the chorus, I think, right?
Yeah, and they have someone sang on it, right?
I think so. I mean, I think it's a woman. I actually don't have I never got the liner notes, so I didn't know who was doing it.
God damn, I can't fucking see. I don't think I'm on my glasses here. Let me see if I can read this. No. Oh yeah, special guest vocalist at the end of all things.
Oh, it's the end of all things, right? Okay.
Yeah. Sung by Danielle Gagnier.
Okay.
And then they thank their live sound, and then there's bells. I don't know what that means. So yeah, it's not on All Eyes.
Okay. It's the end of all things. But even still,
Yes.
it's just like, yeah, there is some stuff in this album that kind of breaks it up and kind of like they have a sensibility. It's not just
Yeah.
crazy punk.
Which
But
totally goes back to like Alternative Tentacles, because if you think about it, and no offense to bands like Minor Threat or Black Flag or something, but like I remember being a kid and like discovering Dead Kennedys and being like, whoa, these motherfuckers like know how to play, their instruments, like they're trained. I think, like
yeah,
in jazz, like they can play like jazz. Like I don't know. It seems like I think you have to be like a step above the
sure.
Ramones to play jazz.
Right. Yeah.
Um.
Comparing them,
So
yeah, comparatively, like, Ramones to Dead Kennedys, it's just like, yeah, these guys seem like they may have taken lessons, and these guys just look like they just picked up instruments, which
yeah,
is fine.
yeah.
I mean, a lot of punk
Well,
is like that, and that's great. It actually kind of makes
totally.
for great music sometimes. That kind of like uninformed ability to just go crazy and just be as creative as you can with something that you don't even know how to use.
I know. Yeah.
But so getting back to the last song, All Lies. Um,
Yeah.
so now I feel like this is a big closer. Now, like you were saying, the last song on a record is totally relevant. It's very important. And I think that this song
Yes.
is. I could not figure it out lyrically. Like, I can't tell exactly what he means. Obviously, something about lies, obviously that there's a betrayal. It feels more personal in this song than it does like external. It does seem to lean a little bit into like a religious kind of tip, but not overtly. It's just, I think it's like what you were saying, how there's a nuance to the lyrics where you can kind of reinterpret however you want. I mean, because there's a lot of mention of prayer in it, right? To like, I forget the exact words, but so
Yeah.
that would be like maybe too direct
Yeah.
for them to
Where
say
he
like,
says, and
oh,
I say, pray to me, pray to me. Yeah, of course.
right, right,
It's like the obvious. It's the obvious.
right. It is
But I,
obvious.
I mean, that's crazy because like I'm atheist, but I sing a lot about God, but not like,
Praising them.
yeah. And I sing about prayer as well, and I don't know. It's weird. It's very, very weird. I don't sing about God like he or it really exists. I just sing about it as a metaphor for like how fucking humans are narrating their time on this planet with this thing that doesn't exist, seemingly doesn't exist. Yeah, so it's weird because I do think that All Lies as like it's very somber in a sense compared to even the opening track or even maybe like Big Dick or whatever. Like it just seems like it just has like a little bit more like it's a little bit bluer, and
Yeah,
I think that's cool to kind of just like let you go. Here you go, and think about it. Because as
right.
a kid, I remember listening to that and just being like, what the fuck? Like it like lets you kind of, it just like sets you down and be like, here you go, enjoy the rest of your day and figure out everything, like,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. It's
uh,
yeah, it's not a really like a tidy little bow on the end of this package, It's
mm,
almost more perplexing being like how they end it with this song, which is so epic. It's like the longest song.
mm,
It's got like all of these like it's like a really well constructed song. And it is blue. It's like it is somber kind of.
yeah.
Um and it leads me to believe like there might be some leaning on religion in here a little bit. Like obviously I don't think that the Wright brothers are religious people. I don't think that they believe in any kind of sense, at least not kind of your typical Christianity. But with that being said, I do have to ask, what is your connection to Satanism? Because what I understand of it, I know I've heard Lydia Lunch talk about this. Like, it's not what people think of it, right? Like it's. I mean, it's a kind of a formalized religion, I guess, but it's not like what people think of as like all the pentagrams and like lighting
Mm,
fucking candles or whatever, and it's like
mhm,
like
mhm,
learning fucking witchcraft or some whatever
mm.
bullshit, right?
Good question. Well, for one, let me real quick before we dive into that. That's cool, but I think for me, I don't know. And again, I'm speculating with no means no, but we live in the, Western culture, so I feel like there's no way we cannot address religious context, no matter how we fit into things. But even here, this is a good example, like this back cover, they clearly are not religious, or at least respecting religion. He's smoking. He looks like a fucking asshole when he's wearing a priest, asshole in a cool way, wearing a priest outfit.
Right. It looks like semi like Nazi-ish with that hat and then the glasses but then wearing the priest thing.
Okay, so I see the Nazi thing. For me, I take the leather cap and the glasses as like sort of like a leather daddy, I think, thing, maybe.
Right.
But the cigarette kind of just like loosely hanging has a sense of arrogance. I don't know. It's a fucking great back cover. I mean, it's a really good in context to this. Like there you go. You have both. Like both covers are amazing, and we can keep riffing on this. But even like the title backwards is
right.
It's a fucking brilliant layout, and it worked. It caught my attention 100,000,000%. But my relationship with Satanism, good question. So I mean, obviously, I grew up liking Slayer, and I was obsessed with, even when Motley Crue put out "Shout at the Devil," I bought that record. I think that's a fantastic record. I should grab. Oh, I won't grab it. But the cover is black on black. It's black with spot gloss of a pentagram, the Motley Crue record, and I was obsessed with that. And I was like, oh my gosh! So Satanic Planet, when we put out our record, it's black with spot gloss, same thing that they did. I don't think Motley Crue was really satanic, but my relationship with it was like, it's cool, like it's the antithesis of God, I guess, or the opposite of God, and in some way, maybe I shouldn't even have said that, because maybe it's not, it's just the other side of the spectrum. But my current relationship with it was like, I went and saw that movie Hail Satan with a question mark, the documentary, which I think is a brilliant film. I went and saw it on a whim, and I was like, dude, I should totally join the Satanic Temple. This shit's so rad. I really, really think this is awesome. I don't believe in God. I'm an atheist. I really want to join it. And then I think maybe I said something online or something, and I was like, oh, I love this movie. It's great. And someone's like, yo, you should look at this thing. Lucian Greaves, the co-founder of the temple, did this thing and mentions Dead Cross. And then I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then somehow I was like, you guys should talk. And then we talked. And then he was on my podcast. And when Luke and I, my podcast host and also is in Planet B, we went to do the podcast with Lucian. And we, in the back of our heads, we had this idea, because in his studio, and I also have the record too, but in his studio on the wall, there's the Anton LaVey's Satanic Mass record, which I think is a really brilliant record. It's very funny sounding and campy and organy, and it's not really satanic. It just has a cool cover and it sounds like circus music. And I was like, we should do a Satanic Mass record with Lucian, but like have him kind of say, because that there's the Church of Satan, which is campy and it is its thing, and teeters and authoritarianism, and kind of there's a lot of problems with Anton LaVey's world of Satanism. But when I discovered the Satanic Temple, I was like, oh man, there's this element of activism and social justice and the fight for religious freedom, and it seemed all inclusive instead of exclusive. Yeah, so it was it's something that I was really drawn to, and I was like, oh, this is cool, let's do a record with him, and he can maybe narrate some sort of like dialogue about what like the Satanic Temple preaches about, or their tenets. And then it kind of turned into and so we did a band. It kind of became a band. It right away became a band, but became more of like a musical thing, not necessarily like this. In my mind, it was going to be very one-dimensional, like almost like noise or soundscapes with dialogue. And now it's like a band. But I mean, and then diving into it, like becoming close friends with Lucian and working with TST a lot, really made me have a different perspective of things. And for me, my relationship with it is it's a very relevant vessel to combat religious fundamentalism and religious oppression, and especially if you look up, if you look into TST stuff, like their reproductive rights campaign is a huge thing that like resonates with me.
Mm-hmm.
Just how they're very open to accepting people, LGBTQ plus community. These are things that I think are really great. I get that there are other denominations, Christian specifically, churches that are gay and open to LGBTQ plus stuff, but it's like now it is a fucking battleground for women's reproductive rights and gender identity and gender equality, and I think that that's a thing. But I grew up like hating God, the concept of God and Christianity, because I saw that it was oppressive towards women and towards my queer friends, and I just thought like this is something that I want to fight against.
Right.
And I think that's a problem that I find with religion. Religion's always like pointing at you, like you're fucking doing this wrong. But while they're pointing at you, there's all these other fingers pointing back at them. So they're just full of shit. And I realized that early on, But I was really grateful that my parents didn't push religion on me too. So I was able to just be like, yo, my Christian friends are fucked. Like I'm fine. I'm gonna just get into like skateboarding and like punk rock and do my thing. But
just kind of tune it out for the most part as a young kid, right?
Kind of. But being able to kind of like look at it in a peripheral, way helped me kind of just be like, yo, this is bad shit that's like really, really infiltrating like every facet of life,
Right. Yeah.
And I remember like even like it going also too like with the Satanic Temple, I can't really find like a thing to be like, oh, I'm against what you guys are standing for. I can't find that. Where like I remember there was a huge shift in 90s hardcore where there was like Krishna was happening all the time. And I was like, and like at first you're like, cool, it seems like peaceful. It seems like they're into vegetarianism. That's cool. That was my introduction to Krishna. Was like I could go eat vegetarian food. Now it's easy, but back then it was a little bit harder. But then I started realizing like, whoa, man, they have this like weird hierarchical structure where it's like men, cows, and then women. Like that seems fucked.
Right.
And then just see like and then just like so like kind of hating Krishna, and then like having Shelter come and be like that band was from people from Youth Today, like Shelter, and then they're like capitalist, and I'm like, this is fucking dumb, dude. Krishna's stupid. So there's that, but I could go on and like pick out whatever, but I mean, there's dumb Satanists out there. There's totally fucking dumb bullshit Satanists, but like I think the Satanic Temple is something I definitely I'm part of it. I'm a member. I'm a card carrying member now. I had to because I started that band, but I stand by the by TST. Yeah, I think they're doing a lot of really good work for people on this planet, and their legal battles alone speak volumes. So yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And I also, I mean, fuck, if anyone goes on and argues with Tucker Carlson on Fox, like I'll probably back them, Yeah. Like, so it's good with me.
All right. Well, so in closing, I mean, I guess I'd like to ask you a little bit about like what you have coming up. Obviously the doc is out now, or at least it's kind of it's not they're not doing a theatrical release. They're Turnstile Films is releasing the doc, Don't Fall in Love with Yourself, and are they still asking or looking to people to host showings in their cities? Is that how it's working?
So there's a bunch of screenings. They're kind of I have like we've I guess touched upon it, like my schedule's insane, so I'm like I don't know what's going on, but they do know more. But there's screenings in different places. I was just at one in New York. It was awesome. It was very, very fun, and Planet B played. It was a really cool thing. But there's a bunch in Texas, a whole bunch happening in Texas, and I think maybe in Chicago. I don't remember. There's a whole bunch coming up. So they're doing it, but I think the release is going to come out in the end of the summer, like streaming service. I don't want to talk too much about it specifically because things could happen. But there's a streaming service that's going to come out on, and also will be released on Blu-ray, and there'll be a soundtrack as well released. So yeah, all that stuff's in the works.
Oh, okay.
I would say towards the end of the year, it should all be done. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because I was interested in maybe trying to host one in Providence. Because
I think that if you can get a hold of John Nix or Turnstile Films on any of their social media, so even if someone else hears this and this is on the podcast, just reach out to John Nix or Turnstile, and I think I think they'd be into anybody doing any of them. Like, it's cool, it's rad. Like, so that would be.
I've been in touch with them actually. So
okay, cool. And also, there's like some Providence royalty in the film. So
Eric is the biggest one. I mean, John Sanderson isn't really in Providence anymore. I guess he moved to Texas or something.
He definitely he moved to Texas, but now he moved again somewhere else. So yeah, he's out of Texas. But yeah, John and Eric are like two of my favorite human beings. So it's very flattering to have them in the film for sure.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I was curious about. It's just like, how do you feel like having a film made about you?
Weird. It's totally weird. And I appreciate John like dealing with my shit. I thought I was being difficult. He told me in comparison to other people he's worked with, I'm not. But at first I was like, man, this is fucked up. I don't know about this movie coming out. Like, it seems weird that it should be about 31G, not about me. And I think between him and Luke Henshaw, who from Planet B and Satanic Planet, who did part of the score, I think that like they changed the narration a little bit, and it now is a little bit more about 31G. And so I became a little bit more comfortable with it. But now, actually, that the film is done, I think, in all honesty, I really think it should have been about Gabe Serbian. But obviously, when it was being made and Gabe was still around, it didn't have like the sort of urgency, or it just didn't have the same like thing. And so, luckily, I asked John if he could put like a post-credit clip with Gabe. And like a little dedication, and that shit's fucking hilarious. So and also, I think because Gabe's the best. He his parts in the film were just brilliant. I already knew he was brilliant, but when he, like, everything that guy says, every time he's talking, I'm like, that motherfucker, he's so funny, he's so smart, he's really, really cool. Like, it's great. He's just really great. And then obviously his musicianship too. So
right. Well, so it's a little bittersweet, but I think it was a great film, actually. I mean, I did watch the the advanced screener of it. Cool. And I mean, I like I said, I hope to maybe try to get it shown here in the city, and that's something I can talk with you about maybe a little later. But
of course.
So aside from that, I mean, you're going on tour with Death Club very soon, in the next few days, and by the time this comes out, I mean, you're probably going to be turning back around from tour.
Let's hope I come back being like, well, I didn't die. I wanted to have that level, of success.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Well, so aside from that, what else are you working on now?
Well, we just finished a Planet B LP, our second record, so we're kind of like putting the like last finishing touches on that, but it's been mixed, and that's pretty wild. We started that before the pandemic, so we've been working on that a lot. We just started working on a second Satanic Planet record. There's a couple tracks that are done, and it's going to be way better than the first one, which is good. And then, I mean, working on new stuff always. There's, gradually we have some new Death Club songs, and then I've been writing another book. I'm working on my fourth book, but it's taking a lot longer than I expected. But yeah, I'm working on that. I always go on tour. I'm like, I want to finish my book this time, and then tour is like insane, and I don't do it. But my goal is to finish it on this tour right now. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. So, well, so then you must be kind of close. I mean, you must not, because you obviously know how much you can usually get done on a tour.
Yeah. Also, when I dive into things, I just fully go, and I just don't, I need to like the amount that I got done was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And then I did a lot of it, but didn't do all of it. So I need to get in that time, that mindset again. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It's okay. It's a hard one to write. But I think once it's done, it'll be worth it. So yeah.
Cool, man. That's great. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I have to ask, what's up with Dead Cross? You guys have that second album out. Were you ever were you touring on it, or are you going to tour on it?
Mm. I would love to know if we are going to tour on it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I would like to do something with that band again, but it's completely out of my hands, like as far as like if we will or won't do something. So
Right.
if they all want to do it, I'm definitely down. So it just kind of it's up to them. Yeah. We'll see.
We'll leave it at that, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not
Well,
ruling it out. Well, yeah, we might do something again. It's not up to me for sure. So yeah, we'll see. But
right.
I
Right.
do love that record. I'm glad it came out. It was weird because we were going through a lot of shit. Mike Crane was going through cancer treatment, and I think it saved his life. So I'm glad the record came out to save his life. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's a great record too. I mean, I've listened
Thank
to
you.
it. I actually got a copy of that too. And yeah, definitely it's different from the first one. It's more melodic.
Yeah, well, the first one was written without, Gabe Serbian was the singer, so we wrote it differently, and with consideration of Mike Patton being the singer, and also Patton pushed for having like a lot more dueling vocals with having me sing, which I sang on most of the songs. So like with him, so yeah, it had a different dynamic because we knew what we were doing, I guess, more than the first time. Because the first time
Right.
when we started, we were like a band. We were a band for 12 days. We wrote a set to play some shows that Dave needed to fill, and that became Dead Cross. So it wasn't like really thought out. So it
Right.
just took a minute to figure out what we were doing.
Oh, okay. So then the second album's kind of taken on its own life because now it's own personality, kind of.
Yeah, we know what we're doing. Finally.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. Not that I don't think the first record's good. I just think there's, I'll be critical, and I think there's like a couple tracks on there that are garbage. And I really wish weren't on there, but we didn't know, and so now we know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. Hey, can I just say that it's been a pleasure finally getting to meet you and speak with you.
Likewise.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in
I-
Providence. Actually, I think we're confirming like a last minute show of the Def Club tour, and
Oh,
I
you
think we're
are?
playing there. So yeah, don't ask me what the date is, but
Oh, that's fine. I saw that you were
I will
going to
try
be in
my-
Boston on the 23rd.
then we'll probably be there like the day after or the day before. So
Yeah.
if that happens, I would love to see you
Okay.
in person.
Yeah.
So
I
just get
will-
in touch with me, and we'll meet up and whatever. I'll put you on the
Okay.
list or something.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
try to show you some nice place outside of the city where that you can kind of see what the
I
state
spent a
really
lot of
has to offer.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Providence. I know enough about certain places now
Oh,
for
okay.
sure. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But like, I would love to hang out. It'd be cool in real life. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do that.
Cool. Okay. Awesome.
So thank you again, Justin, for doing
Cool.
this. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it too.
Vinyl Vision is a Psychic Static production. Theme song written and performed by Jeff Robbins of 123 Astronaut.